A decade ago, President Barack Obama pulled U.S. troops from Iraq. Since then, the country has struggled with political strife and instability. Many Christians living in the region face religious persecution. Now, Pope Francis, you'll recall, visited Iraq earlier this year to address the dwindling number of Christians in the country. Joining me now to discuss is Eric Patterson, Executive Vice President of the Religious Freedom Institute. Eric, welcome back. Great to see you. Let's bring our audience up to speed, please, on Iraq, the current situation there for religious minorities, including Christians.
Well, that's exactly right, that a decade ago there was a power vacuum created when the U.S. precipitously left during the Obama-Biden administration. We've seen a similar thing play out this year in Afghanistan when the U.S. leaves a security vacuum behind. And you know ISIS and all the devastation there over the years. But in recent years, the last couple of years, there have been halting steps in the right direction. If you go to the north of the country around Erbil this season, you'd see Christmas decorations all around the city. But a report at the time of the Pope's visit from Aid to the Church in Need reported that 87% of the Christians in the Nineveh plain felt very insecure. And so that, coupled with Shia-Sunni violence that could break out at any time, it's still a very fraught situation in Iraq.
As I understand, Iran's behind some of this, right, with the militias causing trouble?
That's right. It's routinely reported by CSW, by the U.S. State Department and others that Iran-backed Shia militias are one of the sources of the most violence in Iraq today.
So the main question that jumps out at me, not an expert in that region, but what's the future of Christianity in Iraq and in the region?
Well, it's hard to say. What we'd hope and what we pray for is the growth of Christianity and at least the people who are already there to be able to live flourishing lives. And the only way that's going to happen is if governments take very seriously, both in the region and outside the region, the need for security to protect those vulnerable populations.
Do you believe the U.S. is doing enough in Iraq right now to protect religious minorities?
I'd say that in that region of the world we're not, and specifically not in Iraq. And here's why. This administration, just like its predecessor with President Obama, their number one goal is a nuclear accord with the Iranians. And so they look the other way when Iran stokes sectarian violence in its neighbor, Iraq. That's part of the bottom line here. More could be done.
Let's switch gears. Christians in Nigeria. Nigeria, Africa's most populous country. They face religious persecution as well. And just recently, some senators wrote to Secretary Blinken, essentially asking, and I'll read the sentence here, it says, religious, and there he's up on the screen, says, religious people in Nigeria face severe persecution at the hands of radical terrorist groups and even their own government. In fact, more Christians are murdered for their faith in Nigeria than in any other country. And this has to do with they wanting to know why Nigeria was taken off the list of countries of particular concern regarding religious freedoms. Can you wrap that up and maybe make that a little more succinct for me?
Sure thing. 2 years ago, the previous administration put Nigeria on this special list of top violators of religious freedom, like North Korea, like Iran, like Afghanistan. And this administration, really with very little notice, pulled the plug on that. Why?
Why? They must know what's going on.
They know what's going on. This administration says that these killings, whether it's Muslims killing Muslims because they're too moderate in the north or they're a different faith community, and especially Muslims killing Christians, they say, well, that's just really has to do with land or water rights or political access. It has nothing to do with religion. Well, that type of materialist worldview really does not explain what's going on. It's more dangerous to be a Christian in Nigeria. You're more likely to be killed there, I should say, than in any other country around the world. 4,000 deaths this year, 4,000 deaths last year.
This is the country where we have, I'm sure you know, students being abducted, young kids, Boko Haram running around, armed groups, armed militias. So by virtue of taking them off the list, does that jeopardize lives, or what's the ultimate result?
Well, what it tells the Nigerian government is that it can continue to either look the other way or be complicit in the violence that goes on in its country. A much better approach would be for the U.S., the U.K., and some other partners, including some Muslim governments, to say to the Nigerians, the 90,000 deaths of your citizens since 2009 at the hands of Boko Haram and Islamic State, that is unacceptable. It's destabilizing, and we need to work together to throttle the violence.
overall, in what country, would you say Nigeria is the country, the top country in the world where Christians are facing the most persecution, or is it Iraq? Where would you say it is right now?
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be a Christian in North Korea.
Of course.
And there's some other places. But what makes Nigeria so dangerous right now is that it's apparent that the government looks the other way at thousands of deaths, abductions, rapes, particularly in the middle belt of the country. And so a government that doesn't impose law and order is likely to disintegrate or fall into civil war. And that's what's so worrying about Nigeria.
You know, it boggles the mind. Here we are in almost 2022, and religious freedom in the world is on a scale of 1 to 10, I guess, 10 being the worst. Where do we stand?
Well, unfortunately, it's been in decline for the past 10 or 15 years, but I do think that there's some spots of hope. Places like some of the universities in Iraq that are starting to do religious freedom and tolerance education for their students because they don't want to go back to where they were a decade ago. So there's some points of hope.
And that's why it's critical, I'm sure you'll agree, for our country to be the example. And if it dwindles away here, religious freedom, forget it, right?
Yeah, and one of the things we can do is be raising this awareness right here at home. Our organization is going to show a 6-minute video tomorrow from a Nigerian Catholic bishop. It just came to us last week. It's an authentic video, excuse me, where he talks about what's going on the ground right now.
Where can people see that video?
It's at thereligiousfreedominstitute.org at 1 p.m. tomorrow.
Looking forward to that. Eric Patterson, Executive Vice President of the Religious Freedom Institute, thank you very much for updating us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.